Thank you, Lilian, for inviting me to discuss the AWAKE brand, including your new Atlantis watch. Welcome, DG Watch TV. Let's dive in.
Hello. Hello to everyone and to all watch enthusiasts out there. Thank you for joining us here on Daniel Gorman Watch TV. Once again, a very big thank you, Lilian. I'm just a very small channel. We've only just begun, and it's a real pleasure to have you here with us today. And, well, I'd like to invite you to introduce yourself for those who might not yet be familiar with you.
Yeah, well, listen, first of all, I'm also very happy to be here. It's a small channel, but we are a small brand. We're not exactly that old yet. So I'm Lilian, I'm the founder. Well, I established the brand in 2019 with a clear ambition behind it to really try and bring something truly new, something fresh, and something genuinely different to the watchmaking sector, which is, as you know, an extremely competitive industry. I myself am an enthusiast since the early 2000s, so it's been quite some time that I've been rather captivated by watchmaking. So there you have it. And I really wanted to transform this passion of mine into a profession, but by trying to innovate and to always offer something truly unique. And I think that's what we've managed to achieve since our creation, with a rather unique trajectory that has allowed us to create several surprises.
Well, that's for sure. In any case, yeah, it's definitely original. It's true. When I see all the different models you've already released, I was surprised to see that the brand was only 6 years old. Ultimately, what, 6, 7 years, right? That's it, 2019.
2019, yeah.
Well, since I've prepared a bit for this interview, I looked it up. I saw there were quite a few models, that had come out. So I wanted to ask you a bit about the history of your company. What led you to launch, to get into this? What were you doing maybe before? We can talk about that for 2 minutes too. And then what made you take this path?
Yeah, of course. Well, listen, I used to work worked in media before, digital media, essentially. More in tech, which was at the time my other let's say my other passion. I put all my focus on watchmaking because actually for me watchmaking is something that unlike technology isn't obsolete, something that endures, something that also showcases a craftsmanship and expertise, which is after all very old, and that we want to perpetuate. That's also what led me to watchmaking. It's really to participate in that and try to bring techniques, innovations that allow this watchmaking passion to endure. Because, our children, I have two, and I actually created the company around the time when they were born, telling myself, finally, is the two are intimately linked, and the idea is to ask what story will we tell them next. I really started to want to ask myself, but what do we want to transmit actually? You see, before I didn't have this concept of legacy at all because I didn't have children. The moment I had them, I very, very quickly started thinking, what kind of world will they live in, and what do we want to pass on to them? And AWAKE, that's exactly it. It's truly about this. In fact, the company's mission is in its name. It's essentially it's about elevating our awareness to the beauty we wish to convey, and that's what also led me to the arts and crafts. It's this passion too for the work of artisans. I mean, when you turn on the television every single day, you realize that man is capable of doing things that are not so great actually. And what I'm passionate about in humans is their capacity to create incredible things with hands. These artisans we work with are extremely patient, passionate people, and I want to keep their technique, their expertise alive, because often when you talk with quite elderly people, you realize that they themselves are concerned about how their technique will be passed on. Techniques that are sometimes ancient, and indeed today young people are more interested by the internet, by ultimately craftsmanship and art in general. These are things that have more difficulty reaching them. It's a different era. And precisely to make them endure, I want to get my children interested in it, but everyone in general, by saying, look what man is capable of doing in what is most beautiful, actually.
Yeah, okay. But then maybe you're blending the two a bit as well. I don't know. That's kind of what I'm sensing though, because there's still a part, there's a very modern aspect too in AWAKE, whether it's already in your comms, in even the slightly futuristic side sometimes, where
You're absolutely right. And even the way we're going to treat our markers, our luminescence, there's always something, as I said, of innovation. We created materials that didn't exist. In the past, we created materials simply didn't exist. We created the very first watch equipped with a sapphire crystal that allowed access to the cameras of the ISS. It's a partnership with NASA, where by just touching your smartphone to the watch's crystal, you had direct access to the ISS cameras. The idea was to showcase the beauty of the world as seen from space, just like an astronaut. So there's always this aspect, both very innovative because we were the very first ones to achieve this. And it's just like the luminous signature we invented. There's this desire to shake up the codes a little bit, because if you think about it, the watchmaking industry is extremely static. Many brands do exactly what they did 10, 20, 45, or even 100 years ago. And we wanted to bring a new layer of innovation, but one that would be at the service of the brand's philosophy. And if you like, even through the traditional crafts that we use, we bring an ultra modern touch of creativity to it. Because we are convinced that if you want to transmit an art or a technique, whether it's craftsmanship or art, you have to adapt it to contemporary culture. That's really we're not here to create fine crafts like Patek or Vacheron might, which what they do is magnificent.
Oh, that's quite brilliant as well. But do be careful.
No,
they're also preserving certain professions, just like you.
They preserve traditional crafts. They allow artisans and artists to perpetuate their techniques, and that's fantastic. We wanted to do the same, but with a much more contemporary touch, a more modern approach. Because I think that if you want to speak to the younger generations, it needs to resonate with them and connect with them in relation to the society they live in. And then we also wanted to approach it in a much more accessible way. You see, the brands I just mentioned, well, their prices are simply out of reach for most people. The whole idea was to bring this artisanal craftsmanship to a price point where there was and still is absolutely no competition. So it's truly about offering these unique dials, each one entirely handcrafted. We usually spend about 10 hours of work on each dial. Since crafted by hand, the human hand cannot reproduce the same gesture twice. So you truly have this absolutely unique dial, even within the same collection and the same technique. You put the watches side by side, you'll immediately see the differences. And that's what fascinates me, what pleased me, what I wanted to bring through Wake. It's really this aspect of and our claim says it, right? It's artisanship awaken. That means basically it's the craft trades, but we shake them up, we awaken them.
Oh yes, okay, yeah, that's pretty cool. Like,
the name Wake isn't there to say, Afe, you have to wake up in the morning. The wake means to wake up in English, but it means to wake up in a much more philosophical sense, to ask ourselves how we can shake things up a bit. How do we awaken the art professions, that we give them a new message, even if the gesture, even if the technique remains the same as what the artisans who have been working on these techniques for decades or even centuries are capable of doing. But how do we give them that touch of modernity that makes the watch different and makes the technique ultimately much more creative? You see, for example, the collection we made, the Deadly Watch, where we drew inspiration from the world of Kill Bill and really this desire to work on techniques, but to bring something ultra modern. There you go. Kill Bill is a film that resonates with so many people. The generation, people my age as well as younger people who've seen the film. Tarantino, after all, is timeless. There's this approach, like the Jurassic Watch we created, where we apply our technique and our artistic crafts to serve the seventh art in a way.
AWAKE son organisation.
All right. I'm just picking up on what you were saying about your subcontractors. Actually, I wanted to ask you about that because for me, it's the same. For me, the greatest asset of any company is its team. It's the team you have inside. And for us, honestly, seeing it from the outside, we wonder how you're organized. Now, if there are subjects you'd rather not talk about, just tell me, no problem at all.
And there you have it. But
yeah. So from a place of complete transparency, we're not here to. That's something I've always found hard to grasp, because with certain brands that try to claim everything is done in-house, this and that. Traditionally, watchmaking has been a subcontracting trade. So I prefer to speak of our partners, not subcontractors. I see them more as partners, and I'll explain what in a moment. But there's this vision where it's either it's very complicated to have the most expert people in-house for all areas of watchmaking, especially since for us, it's not just watchmaking. In fact, we truly create what are like paintings for the wrist. So if you want, what interests us is finding the best artists, the best artisans from all over the world. We could never hire them anyway. They wouldn't be interested. Of course. They'll be highly creative people who need to work on diverse projects. So what interests us is truly finding the best in each area, who bring us their expertise, and not try to suggest it's hidden or that we don't want to talk about it. On the contrary, we have transparency. We highlight them, we work, and we also put them forward. We showcase them through photography, ultimately to truly elevate their art. We're working on the movement. We're working with La Jouperet. We didn't try to say it was an in-house movement or with a code name, as some brands do. And I find that a shame, because ultimately people don't come to you to buy something just because it was made in your office. They come to buy something. They're interested in something that has a soul, that has meaning, and that has quality. And quality, when you can't produce it internally, or you wouldn't do as good a job, then it's better to go and find that expertise elsewhere. Exactly. We work with La Jouperet. We are extremely satisfied with their movements, with everything they provide, and we work with artisans in various parts of the world. And that's what it is actually. This bridge between cultures is what interests me. If you will, you get people talking. We truly see ourselves as project managers. We gather talents, expertise from different places, and we are the conductor of it all. To bring. Ultimately, our only desire is to bring emotion.
Okay, so for example, for your dials, we can imagine it's an artist or a craftsman working in I imagine it's in Asia, right? That's what I understood. Or maybe, I think the technique was from Vietnam.
Absolutely. So, first of all, our work as artists is in many different places. We work with French artists and also with Scottish artists. I mean, right. Like the doll artist, who is a Scottish artist. We also work with a friend of the brand who does micro painting and who is how shall I put it, based in Nantes.
Okay, that's excellent.
Those
For
are
example,
the artists.
The one who directed Kill Bill, I would imagine, who also made the.
No, well, that's precisely it. That's exactly not the case. Meaning that the pieces we create with artists they're really small series, because these artists can't work, so to speak, reproduce the same painting, the same artwork to get back to their basically their project. It's more like artworks. And for however, everything that is done in a non-artistic way is indeed done with a workshop of who is based in Vietnam, Pos. Who is Pos? I have a personal connection with Vietnam. Pos, I truly love Vietnam. I was there for a very long time. Pos, I discovered Vietnam a very long time ago, almost 20 years. Pos, and that's also how I discovered the technique. I mean, I brought back 18 years ago on my first trip to Vietnam. I brought back a painting who used the technique that we use today in watches. When I asked myself, what unique element can I bring to my watches that isn't seen anywhere else? Well, the answer was truly right there before my very eyes through this particular painting and these specific techniques, the Son Mai technique, which means thought lacquer in Vietnamese, and is essentially the foundation for all our, how should I put it, all our new releases. In fact, we truly use this technique, which we then mix with various different ingredients, because with lacquer art, you have 1,000 ways to interpret it. Lacquer, it's what truly comes to cover what's underneath, but beneath that we always try to place something, be it silver leaf or mother of pearl. There's truly this approach where we combine different techniques, and this is produced in Vietnam because it's a truly local expertise, a very specific skill that has never been exported, and so we are proud to present it. And also we're delighted to be the only brand in the world that ultimately uses this technique.
Great. Next, I wanted to talk a little bit about all the different fields you've explored, because on my end, I also looked at your background. I saw so many different worlds. From what I gathered, it started, I saw a lot with the space race. I saw a whole era with NASA. I just love it. I live near Toulouse, Airbus, aerospace. I love it. It always made me dream. So I find that quite nice. I also saw a bit of science fiction in your universe because, well, even just the Wake logo, the way it's written, I don't know if there's anything to it, but it makes me think a bit of Star Wars with the, the perspectives.
So, well, I confess, no, that wasn't the inspiration.
Not planned. Okay.
We've seen how people interpret the logo in their own way.
If we see it from our universe, there must be something good about it. Yeah, I'd seen, well, the world of cinema, obviously, so especially with the Raptor, the T-Rex, Kill Bill.
Donc les artisanats du monde, ça t'en as parlé. Moi j'ai vu aussi un côté minimaliste aussi parfois. Je trouve que ça c'est un truc que j'adore dans le design que tu vas chercher, c'est que tu cherches pas à en mettre des couches de crème, des couches de crème, ça va vraiment à l'essentiel, que ce soit les silver ou que ce soit celle d'avant que tu avais fait aussi, la
the previous one you also made, the guilloche.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, if you want, you are completely right. The idea for me is really when you have techniques like that, you try to have something that is truly pure. I mean, we'll get to it. Typically, for me, it's not really a big deal that it's true that as a founder, I influence the brand with my personal tastes. But you see, the date function, that's something that never interested me. It's really a function that, I mean, it's very easy to get the date, the time too, for that matter. Any watch can give you that. But for me, it's really about emphasizing the very artistic side, if you will. I was talking about a work of art or a painting on the wrist. We're really in this approach where the dial is the star. The dial, we want minimal friction on the dial because it's it that will provide the emotion. And in terms of design, yes, we try to avoid creating watches with strange or atypical shapes. Basically, we stick to round designs. But if you look at one of our watches, it's packed with intricate details. I truly have a passion for details.
Yeah. Oh, I
it's
love that
about
too, yeah.
ensuring that not a single millimeter of the watch isn't thoroughly crafted. Even the buckle, people don't notice it right away.
We're going in completely
because
blind, yeah.
brands underestimate it. That they think the design is the watch and the rest is just an accessory. Our buckle is extremely elaborate. The design of the lugs, it's not perfectly round. You can see these lugs that extend slightly from the case just to add those small details that make enthusiasts say, oh yeah, they really tried to bring something unique. And I just love it when something complex appears simple. And what I adore is that people discover the watch, not just in 2 seconds by glancing at it at a trade show or in a shop, but gradually, as time goes on, they come to realize, oh, wow, oh, they actually did that. Oh, I hadn't noticed it initially. And that truly brings me joy because it's really, it's not designed for design's sake. It's truly about the subtlety that we're trying to achieve. So yes, our approach is quite minimalist because there's a real desire to convey a message through our watches and to always maintain this coherence. Consistency is paramount between the stories we tell and the way it's made, it's executed, which is the watch. And so, we find many subtle things on the watch, but they're not obvious. And I like that.
I think it's great. Yes, exactly. As you say, all the details, for example, you don't write anything on the dial, no lettering that would spoil the artisan's work ultimately. But on the other hand, on the back, you have lots of engravings on the rotor, on the oscillating mass you'll have. And it's true that it's really nice. I love that. Yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Okay, perfect. I wanted to, oh yes, I also noticed that there were some universes you didn't go into at all. You see, for example, I didn't see any vintage inspiration, and that's what I find good. I think it's great, the fact that you completely avoided certain universes. And I think that's super because it's so original. It's like if you don't set any boundaries for yourself in art, then you can't really explore a particular direction. I've noticed something myself. You can tell me if it's intentional or if you'll perhaps get to it later. As for all things vintage, I noticed that for me, there really wasn't any reference. I didn't have any storytelling references, sometimes quite frankly, a bit stupid, so to speak. And you weren't really going to look for things that had absolutely no connection to it. I mean, you're making a watch, you're doing craftsmanship, you're not doing completely outlandish things. I also didn't see any reference to motorsports either. I haven't seen any references, there's a whole lot of references that I haven't seen that we almost always get in, and I find that really original and truly great.
Well, listen, you've actually understood our approach very well. The idea is, as I told you, I was saying it from the introduction, to try to bring something, a new perspective, a new way of doing things, new techniques of innovation. That's really the brand's defining characteristic. It's not about going over ground that's already been covered. Well, first off, when it comes to vintage, I do like vintage watches, but I only truly appreciate them when they are genuinely vintage. I'm much less drawn to neo-vintage or vintage-inspired pieces because our brand is, above all else, about creativity. And creativity isn't about simply copying the recipe that worked 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago, etc. It's really about breaking free from existing codes to try and create our own and to have a unique identity. For me, it's extremely interesting. And I see brands where it's very well done. It doesn't resonate with me, but I think it's very well made, very well executed. But I was primarily looking for uniqueness. That is to say, the ability to express a vision. You are saying there's no storytelling, etc. It stems from a vision. It stems from a desire to convey a message. We've stuck to that since the brand's creation, even though the design has evolved over time, and that's normal. You know, we can't stay with a single collection and just remain. We have so many ideas. You know, we're just overflowing with them. We have too many. I mean, it's kind of us. What is our strength is also our weakness, and I'm not kidding. It's because we're always trying to look ahead. We're always saying, what if we did this? What if we did that? And actually, I see brands who say they launch something every 2 years. And also the technique itself demands it, because when you work with artisans, we don't need to make the same watch 500 times, etc. We go to someone and say, hey, it'd be cool if we did this, etc. There's a very this is co-creation. You see, the artisans are truly deeply involved in the creation. There's a lot of proactivity from them too, trying to say, well, we didn't think of that, and so on. So it's really, really cool. I love this concept of bringing in and gathering people who are not, once again, precisely why I'm not talking about subcontractors, but we gather people who truly want to move the overall project forward. There's no inspiration. There's no. I'm not insensitive to the automotive world, but I just didn't want to be the one
259th
to be inspired by the automotive world for my request. If I had started there, I'd say no. There are already enough people who do it and do it well. I don't have to add the same brick. And so that's also the very reason why I went into this particular industry. It was to create my own brand. It was truly to go on paths, on trails, on lost paths. Well, not lost, but in any case, paths that no one had really cleared, in fact. And that's it. Yeah. And the way we practice these art forms, already art forms are something very, very rare. 99 of watches are machine made. So we already took a very, very different approach. But beyond that, even within what I'd call a niche, people who appreciate artisanal crafts, we wanted to do it differently. So yes, inspiration won't be found in the industry or in vintage automotive, etc. We'll find it in art, in culture. That's where we draw our inspirations. Our ideas, they're in books, they're in paintings. It's all of that. In fact, that makes us feel alive.
A blend of art and craftsmanship, you know.
Exactly, absolutely.
I was going to jump in because you're touching on it. For example, when you have a new project, I wonder how a project like that is born at AWAKE. Do several of you brainstorm on it? Does one person launch an idea? Does someone else build on it? Or do you have many? I mean,
yeah, well, the thing is, we're a small organization. There aren't many of us, so everyone is free to bring their ideas and so on, as long as they fit into the brand's vision, obviously. And indeed, creativity doesn't rely on just one person. It is collective, and so that allows us to bring in ideas. You see, for anything related to cinema, Thibault, my associate, handles that. Well, he's passionate about cinema, etc. So he's the one who comes to Ligny and says, "Hey, look, what if we did this?" You know. So if you think about it, there isn't really one person who's solely responsible for creativity or for design or for innovation. It's truly, now our engineer is much more focused on the innovation side, but innovation itself, it can come from absolutely anyone. Afterwards, the engineer, well, he'll take care of figuring out if it's actually feasible or not. But you see, it's something that what I'm truly pleased to have accomplished with WEX is that it's centered around the brand, and it will bring together people who share the same passions, both for watchmaking
everyone, absolutely everyone on the team is passionate about watchmaking, but also for this very specific cultural, artistic dimension. And we're going to expand the company even further. And I hope to attract profiles who are they choose, whether it's the watchmaker or someone in marketing, because it's really something significant. It's become a full-time job, and we need to expand. We need to have individuals who not only possess competence naturally, but who also truly embody the very DNA of our brand.
Le prix.
Right, so I'm going to get back to something very practical, very basic. Well, being in business myself a bit, how can I say, one thing that seems very complicated is the pricing. Well, you see, a watch, it doesn't really have a price. It can start at €5 and there's no limit on the other side. How do you want to go? Do you want to move up market a bit? So far from what I've seen, it's gone up market a bit. Do you want to stabilize there? I think the value for money is excellent. Yeah, later I'll maybe mention 3 other brands, we'll see.
There's no worries. Many people do cool things.
What interests me, what I'm really focused on, is to truly deliver the most beautiful, the most optimal ratio between emotion and value. That is to say, we are indeed trying to achieve a price point that allows us, so to speak, to offer an exceptional value proposition. Well, first, doing artisanal crafts is exceptional in the industry. As I said earlier, most things are made 100% by machine. And there you go, trying to bring emotion and keep it accessible. So yes, we have evolved the brand, if you want, when we talked about NASA, etc. That was before the era of artisanal crafts. Today, we are full artisanal crafts. There is absolutely no dial that is made by any machine whatsoever. And that truly, there's no turning back. So that truly is what really forms today the how can I put it, the very foundations of the brand. If we're going to explore some price segments that are perhaps a little bit higher, for one thing, we'll remain right where we are. We can certainly expand. We're not going to move. That is to say, we can broaden our offerings with some, but if we expand, it's because the watch's technicality will justify it. We're not going to increase just to increase. We're in a price segment that has been completely abandoned by Swiss brands. Exactly. They went by pricing strategy, and only by pricing strategy, not by product evolution at higher prices. And they ultimately left a rather quote unquote open field for brands to come in with something extremely attractive in a price segment where there are, well, far fewer people than before.
There.
And so that's that. So for me, the brand will remain in its segment. And if we seek out things a bit more sophisticated, which then justify a higher value, because ultimately the technicality creates shall we say, a higher production cost. And yes, that will justify a price hike, but there won't be a price increase just because we decided we could sell the same thing for more. That's completely out of the question, if you ask me. In fact, the example we see in the market shows that's not the right approach. And today, people are indeed, and this is somewhat the boom of independent brands, it's that people are becoming more and more sensitive to the notion of what exactly am I getting for the price I'm paying, if you think about it. Yeah. The logo and the so-called prestige of the brand are fading away, making room for a much more pragmatic approach where we tell ourselves, well, wait, they're at that price point.
What do I have in front of me? There's no question. It's this one where I get the most for the investment I put into the watch. So there you have it. I'm answering.
It's complicated. The price, even for the consumer, because for example, when I can afford to buy watches, even so, it quickly becomes quite an expense. So you really look. I still look at several things. I look at the pleasure I get.
Yeah.
Well, I do still look a little bit at the price-quality ratio. Is it really an original product? Do I have a super dial and so on? But then you still have to consider and ask yourself, in 10 years, what will its value be? You see, because you still want to pass it down to your children. It's not about making, any profit at all, but you don't want it to be worth nothing. You don't want it to be disposable. You hope that it's worth something, that it lasts a little while. And indeed, I think that when you bring something to an artisanal product, that's also reassuring.
To begin with, craftsmanship creates a certain form of rarity, if you will. And rarity creates exclusivity. Exclusivity ensures the price holds its value over time. Because you see, for instance, let me give you an example. The watches, the collection, I mean, the 2 Jurassic watches we launched a year ago now, people keep asking us for them constantly. Ultimately, we only made 50 of each because we work on long timelines. A machine-made dial that takes just a few minutes to produce. The other one, that's 10 full hours of work.
Yes, that is
so you see, I can't just come along and say to myself, right, I'll make 5,000 of these. That's simply not feasible. So if you like this idea of value, well, yes, I think despite everything, I got into watchmaking. I told you at the of the 2000s, a time when resale value, because we are in the market has changed a lot, was really not a concern. You were doing that, you were the only one leading the way, because anyway, all Ecote watches, no matter which ones, from the Nautilus to the Sub, everyone bought them cheaper. So there wasn't this idea thinking what will it be worth later, even though we knew it wouldn't be worth zero in any case. And so it's true that this market has evolved in that direction, and it's an increasingly frequent concern. As I was telling you, we work on productions that are extremely, how can I put it, small scale, because of their artisanal dimension, which means we make rare watches, truly rare watches. There are people who come and discover a watch a year later, asking, where can I get it, and so on. Well, I tell you, we don't have any more. But when you produce 50 watches for potentially 500 or 1,000 individuals who would be delighted to acquire one, then naturally the person who resells it at some point won't be under any pressure. They'll manage to sell it with ease. Indeed, we see, I don't know if people do it with this objective, but we see quite a few watches being sold for more today than the price at which customers bought them.
No,
that was not our intention at all. I didn't create a kind of more or less remote controlled inflation. That's not our goal. We are compelled to make small production runs as the technical aspects dictate. And this, of course, helps to maintain a certain value for the watch over time, because there will always be people frustrated they couldn't acquire one, and others who will be pleased to possess it. You see, we are now training our artisans to be able to create more, but no series planned for 2026 will exceed the 250 watches. So, and again, for the very top tier items, there's only one model that will be limited to 250 pieces, because we bring in other artisans and so on for its creation. But in the watchmaking industry, 200 pieces of the same watch, that's exactly.
Well, of course, yeah. All right, I'm going to ask you this now, even though I had planned it for later, because people have been asking me about the Raptor all the time. I know the answer, but I'm going to ask you the question anyway. When will it actually be reproduced?
Never again.
Well, of course it will.
You know what? It's one of my great disappointments, because the goal isn't to create scarcity for scarcity's sake, as I said. And when some people tell me, oh, I want it, I'm not going to tell my clients who are so happy to own a Raptor, guys, I'm sorry, when it's ready, I'll make a series. And that's not the goal at all. Anyway, we have so many ideas, as I told you earlier, we have so many ideas. We know we can recreate that same appeal for these customers with a different series. It won't be the Raptor, of course, but it will eventually check all the boxes for their passion. That's why I'm not worried. We also realize that many of our clients now own 4, 5, or even 6 watches from us, which is, quite significant. I won't lie to you, I'm even surprised myself. We always manage to surprise and create this desirability with guys who say, oh, it's good, he already has his wake. And then you release something and he goes, so it's cool. So it's cool. So for those who miss the train,
yeah, you gotta take it that way.
Don't worry, there will be others. We are going to be releasing so many incredible things. So you will definitely have plenty to enjoy. It might not be the exact journey that you had seen there, but you can absolutely count on us. We're going to truly surprise you, and we are going to make you want to purchase our very next collection.
Okay. Great. I wanted to get your thoughts on a few other brands that I found that were a little bit, that kind of revolved around your world. And there you go. So hold on, I'll see if I can. I'll maybe share the screen with you like this. I was thinking, so well, first off, there was the first one there, that was Moser. For me, clearly, that makes me think of Wake.
Yeah, because it's I really like this brand. I really like this brand. Indeed, it's in the way, in the textures and in the colors, because we mostly have quite powerful, strong colors, and Moza does that. However, these are completely different techniques, and the dials are ultimately, when you look at them from a distance, you do see smoky effects, things like that, gradient dials, which from afar might make you say, oh, that's there's a certain resemblance, but the techniques are completely different. The execution method is completely different. Okay. And there you have it. So, but it's a brand I really like. I really appreciate its evolution. And also, you mentioned marketing earlier, which is important. We try to have a marketing appealing, to step a little outside the box. Well, you see collections like the Deadly Watch or Jurassic. They're also there to bring a smile, actually. They are here to have fun. And I find that Moza was one of the pioneers of fun in their marketing. When you look at the way they had a little bit subverted the Apple Watch or the Swiss Alp, which was made with cheese and so on. In short, they went and created talking points by making people smile. And I really like this approach. And perhaps that's also what drives me to do something that's also at times a bit lighthearted, where we can relax and show that they're still just watches. And even if there's a slightly a bit more playful approach, these are still extremely serious products. And that, I think, is part of what we share with Moza, perhaps.
Okay, that's absolutely wonderful. What else was it that I had been watching? I'm trying to remember. Minaz?
So they have cases that are very, 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 you mentioned minimalist design, and that's where we're at. I find I'm also a fan of culture and art, especially Japanese art. So there are things about their work that resonate with me. Design-wise, it's not quite my cup of tea, but I get that it can appeal to many people too. So no, what they do is cool. I like it.
Okay, great. What was it I had planned for you? I really wanted to talk to you about this. All right, I'm not sure if you're familiar with, this one is a little bit less known, Ollensreich.
Yeah, I'm less familiar with them. I'll admit I haven't really looked into their watches as much, so it's harder for me to have an opinion. I don't quite remember what makes them. It seems to me that their approach is also a little bit singular, and that I really like. I like it because it's when people have this desire to push the boundaries a little and to create different things. I can only applaud and support this kind of creation.
Okay, super. They have some really lovely things when it comes to their movements. Yeah, I really like them a lot.
I don't know enough. I can't know it all, if you want.
Yeah, no, but absolutely.
But what they do is pretty cool.
Okay, it's great. Tore, what else did I have? Oh yeah, one thing I also found, they had a bit of the same approach as well, that's the idea I had of it, Henedin.
Henedin, yes. So they are really, really focused on enamel, if you will, which is a technique that we absolutely do not use ourselves. The main difference is that they have to fire the enamel, you see. Grand Feu enamel, it's fired in an oven, so there's a very, very high breakage rate. We are fortunate to have a technique that it relies on lacquer, so it doesn't have any risk of breakage or anything like that, and that's what also allows us. So you get renderings that can, again, from afar, like you said, we spoke of Moza earlier, have some similarities because there's a lot of texture. There are dials that, you see, there's this truly unique aspect. Each dial is unique. I'm happy to be able to work on enamel, because the problem with enamel is that ultimately you have a very high breakage rate. You make a watch with an enamel dial, you pay for all the dials when they end up in the trash, which is a little bit frustrating for a brand, I think. So we no longer have to face this constraint. So we are able to bring the same dial beauty with a completely different technique, and without throwing a single dial in the trash, because lacquer, it can be sanded. It can be sanded many, many times. We have about 20 layers of lacquer for each watch. Each layer of lacquer, you have to polish that with your fingers in order to achieve a surface that is perfectly flat and without any imperfections. You do that 20 times. So this is why we end up with extremely lengthy periods of time for creation, or rather for the actual manufacturing process. It's because all these numerous layers of lacquer must be successively applied and then mixed with various pigments to introduce different colors, after which they need to be left to dry completely and then meticulously sanded by hand, not just once or twice, but perhaps 3, even 20 times. Consequently, this is precisely what leads to such an incredibly extended working time. But if you make a small mistake, when you're working with enamel, it's garbage.
When you work on lacquer, you resend, you rework, you restart from an existing base, but you don't discard it.
Yeah, that's interesting though. Actually, they have impossible deadlines, I think, to supply these people. You have to position yourself 2 years in advance.
I hope we don't reach that point, and I hope that we need to control our growth. We also need to. That's why we continue to train artisans in our techniques. It's because I'm telling you, I've had this passionate collector side for over 20 years now. And waiting 2 years for a watch, that's a very, very long time. So yeah, I pity them in terms of customer management.
It's complicated though.
It can't be easy either. People who ask questions saying, okay, I'll sign, and then after 6 months,
there's still, well, you also have a bit of a trust issue after all.
No, this isn't a matter of trust. It's just that 2 years waiting for a watch is too long.
Yeah, it's been a while. I had noted isotope.
Yeah, that's typical of a friend.
So you'll tell him good things.
What I truly love is his creativity. That is to say, he also frees himself from all the established codes. He simply forges his own path. And I find that he has a lot of ideas. It's really a brand that I like a lot, both from a human perspective and from a creative perspective.
No, but clearly, yeah. What they do, is they break free from many codes, and it's super original. It's excellent. What else did I note? Colloquium.
At the colloquium, it's the same. Then we have many friends in the industry, if you like, but he's well, typically it's the same, you see. Overall, you've made a really good selection of brands that fit our universe. Is that he's already a super cool person, humanly speaking. And what's more, he loves our brand. I mean, he has a fragment on his wrist, among others, among others.
Okay, that's awesome.
And so he likes the brand, but it's completely reciprocal, you know. And that's really, I like it. The guy, he's how should I put it? He's busting his ass. Let's speak a bit more vulgarly. He's really going to great lengths to bring something different once again. And honestly, he has some really great ideas. And so it's the same thing. It's like isotope. You need good people and good ideas and good executions. That's a really good recipe, you know.
Okay, great. What else did I have written down? I noted Berens. Does that name mean anything to you, or?
Bioku Berens. They are much more into the watchmaking dimension. They are there to. They are highly creative, but focused on the mechanism. Everything is mechanism. In fact, the watch is built around a motor. They're engine specialists. That's right. They're engine specialists, meaning they are extremely creative as engine specialists, meaning they'll create movement designs you won't see anywhere else, and so on. So again, another unique entity, another company forging its own path, doing things differently and succeeding. And that's pleasing because among the thousands of watch brands on the market today, from the most well-known to the very smallest micro brands, there aren't that many that manage to have a true identity, a true uniqueness. All the brands you've mentioned, in my opinion, they all have, from the very high-end ones, like Mother, all the way to Berens, each one has truly succeeded in finding its own niche and does things in an extremely effective way.
Okay, great. Is there a brand in there among those I mentioned, or even others you'd like to do a collab with?
There are several, but brand collaborations, it's something extremely complicated. If you think about it, with cars, there haven't been many historical collaborations between different car brands, because how do you combine the two DNAs? It's not always obvious. It would perhaps make a bit more sense if we were to do a collaboration with one of the brands you mentioned. It would perhaps rather be a Berens, because we would be bringing together two very distinct skill sets. One is the front and the other the back of the watch. For me, there's always we need to sit around the table. Ideas always emerge, but it's something much more complicated.
Okay, do you have a brand to mention?
I think collabs were very trendy for
the past few years. We see it's losing a bit of steam now because it was kind of fashion's codes, you know, all the collabs you find in how to say, in ready to wear, in shoes, etc. Well, there are just too many collabs. It kind of kills the whole concept. So if we have to do collabs, we'll really do it because I'll have a genius idea and we'll make everyone happy, you know. But otherwise, we're not at all about collab for collab's sake. I think we've arrived in 2026. It's too late to do things like that, and it's more risky than anything else.
Okay, more with an artist.
Yeah, that's it. I don't have a specific breakdown in my head, you know, but we really talk to a lot of people, you know. And the idea is that the best ideas emerge from human discussions where we don't say, guys, it would be cool if we did a collab. Let's sit around the table and think about it. No, things really happen through encounters, and it wasn't planned. And it happens in a supernatural way. And I think that in a way, real collaboration should stem from that. It's not because there's no marketing aspect, no specific desire. I want to do a collab. Who will I do it with? You know, we don't have that approach at all, because that's what, it's still what I was saying earlier, that for me, that's the past.
Okay.
We don't have a collaboration program. We don't tell ourselves we're going to do a collab or we'll do one every year. It's not on a roadmap. If tomorrow anyone, an artist, even a brand, whether it's a watch brand or not, if there's a good human fit and it creates a desire to work together, that's when we ask ourselves that question.
Exactly.
But otherwise, it's not.
Yeah, but then you're saying it's a bit more marketing. Both are trying to combine their two potentials, and it doesn't lead to anything good.
Very naturally, and the best ideas are those that weren't planned originally.
Okay, great. Is there a brand that you find that has truly inspired you, whose particular style, or, I mean, you know, or you'd like to...
Actually, inspiration, I try not to get it from other brands, so it's difficult. There are quite a few brands that I really like. Well, I'm going to go for things, how can I say, that are a little outside the box. But you see, I really like Vacheron because there's an exceptional craftsmanship. And I'm not talking about the watches. I'm not talking about the overseas. For me, there's less of a thing there. I'm talking about the master watchmakers where you truly feel the passion, you feel the desire to create extraordinary things. Well, it's at prices that reflect that, of course. But there you have it. It's
not classic for all that.
Yeah, of course. But wait, I haven't collected or I don't have the weird stuff, you know. I'm pretty classic. I wanted to, with the brand, go off the beaten path, but generally the watches that really moved me, if we're talking about Breguet, we're talking about Lange, we're talking about brands that aren't known for being the most creative or the most messed up, you know.
The craziest ones, absolutely not. But
they each have something that really draws me in. Mother, you mentioned it, one of the brands that I think does very well. And then otherwise, you know, I really like what Atelier Van does, which took a lot of risks. The Chinese one, very bold, really very, very bold. And I find that what they're doing is also very cool. So, well, but I really try not to look too much at what the industry does in brand development, because precisely I don't want to have influences or things that look similar. You know, our light signature. There's a brand I also really like. You know, that's Ming.
Yeah, I was going to mention it. Yeah,
I've always told myself they've really managed to establish some truly incredible light signatures. And it's true that when they do loom shots, the watch in the dark with the UV lamp on full, it's magnificent. I told myself, I want to have something magnificent in the night, but with a very low light signature. But on the other hand, there's no way it would look even remotely like Ming. And that's where we created our completely new indexing system, which no one else in the industry does. And that's what creates that wow effect. It's every time I put the UV lamp on the watch on display, you've practically got him.
Oh yeah.
You've already got him. The guy, he's automatically cornered. He's on the verge of cracking.
I'm an absolute fan.
You have to look at the industry. You can't put on blinders. But you know, I don't want to make things that look like. Maybe it gives me an idea like, damn, I'd love to have my own light signature, but we'll do it completely differently. I'll give you the example of Ming. Well, that's how it is. So it's naturally, you live in an industry. You can't completely close your eyes to what's happening around you. But the rule is never to make something that resembles what has already been done.
That's great. So shall we talk a little about Atlantis?
Yeah.
So well, obviously it's...
It won't have lasted long.
Damn, incredible.
That's pretty cool. It's a watch. It's a watch that I absolutely adore, because I wanted to bring in this turquoise. So not a Tiffany blue, not that kind of thing, but turquoise is a color that I really, really like. I live in the south of France, not far from Marseille. So, you know, there are these calanques and so on. And this blue, this absolutely sumptuous blue that I really wanted to have in the collection. So we made a small series. You know, it's 100 watches. They sold out very quickly, and it's just incredible because it has a vignetted effect. You know, a smoked effect, which is absolutely magnificent. So it's really a watch. But this color, we're not done talking about it. It will return. Atlantis blue. That's it. It's over. But the color, I think we'll have to interpret it from a technical standpoint, because it is an absolutely sumptuous color, and so sometimes it's quite frustrating to put out something amazing, and you think to yourself, but why do we only make so few of them? Well, we do make them. We know exactly why. I'm not going to tell you all the details, but it's a real shame. You just think, oh well, and so because of that, you have to make them exist through other kinds of projects.
And that the techniques, that's not what we lack. I have techniques for the next 5 years. So in the drawer. So there will be other ways to execute this color with completely different renderings, but Sabat turquoise will return.
Okay, great. Well, for me, just without giving a detailed review of the watch, I'd say I really like everything about it. Clearly, whether it's the dial. Plus, I had said right that I didn't want to on my channel. I didn't want to only say good things, but I picked the wrong one.
I'm an absolute fan, you see.
With me, no problem.
I really tried to point out one or two minor flaws, but I found it very difficult to find any.
I really love the finish. I received the violet one not long ago. It's pretty much the same model, colors aside, but it shines from every angle. The case, I think it's great because it's a little bit stocky. It's not it's not the perfectly round classic case. It has a bit of a stocky feel.
A bit sporty. I wanted it to. It's a classic watch, you know. We're not talking about, and I specifically wanted to add a touch of design, so it wouldn't be just a watch that's completely round, completely thin, completely flimsy. And then there are these alternations of polished and brushed finishes. The edges are well brushed and so on. So that brings out the contrast. So
it's shining from every angle. I tried to take photos at the end of the videos. I took it to a ski slope just for a bit, and I had reflections, but you could see me everywhere in it. It was just so shiny. No, it was truly, truly impressive. The movement, the Jouperet, I didn't know it, so I went to look it up a bit. Improvement, I thought, hey, they're no longer using Miyota. Isn't that just to raise the price and everything? And no, actually, apparently, it's a choice that is...
No, because, these are finishes that have nothing to do with Miyota. Even though they share the base, it's still the same group. La Jouperet, a Swiss company, belongs to the Citizen Group, just like Miyota. Ultimately, it's the same owner for both. There have been developments, I think, I don't just think I know it. The development of the G100, which is the Jouperet movement, actually it's based on a Miyota caliber. The finishes are not at all the same. However, the power reserve is not at all the same for 70 hours, right? It's 68 officially. So if you will, what I really liked was that precisely because we're comparing it more to ETA and Celita.
Right.
To stay on the Swiss side, but there's no contest. It's far superior in every way. And so, my passionate side, you know, in my brain told me, don't go for the most economical option, because the Jouperet is the least economical for these so-called Swiss entry-level movements.
Affordable, I'd say. Yeah.
avoidable that allow prices to soar, because the problem with the Swiss industry is it's either affordable or you multiply by 5. That's it. Well, by 5 or rather by 10 actually.
Yeah, I understand.
In my head, it's more like so if you want in this accessible aspect, the Juppere for me completely dominates all the others by a long shot, and actually they're in the process of snatching up a significant number of market shares, because whether it's in terms of reliability, it's absolutely top notch. The finishes, they are far superior to the others, the power reserve as well. So I prefer to have something more refined, of higher quality, rather than going for something that in fact would have allowed me to get the watch a bit cheaper. But for me, and you see, I don't want to sacrifice one for the other, and I tell myself, when I make a watch, I'm going to try to have everything I was telling you earlier: the value proposition, the most indisputable and incomparable emotional value there.
So with all the details, that we mentioned earlier, the engraved rotor, there are quite a few messages on the back, despite its minimalist design. What's it called? I can't recall. The strap buckle is also engraved, and the crown is engraved too, if I remember correctly. And what else did I want to mention? Yeah, the bracelet, it's also very cool, that one. The bracelet in suede leather a bit there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We're working on that. We're working with Bouvray, who is, now it's not very well known. We're working with 2 manufacturers who are French, both of them. Bouvray does more for watch brands than for the general public. And then we work with Jean Rousseau, who is another really great reference. And she also has workshops where you can go and have your custom bracelet made, which is excellent. And so there you have it. Once again, there are many brands, even very prestigious ones, who try to save as much as possible on the strap, saying it's just an accessory, it's not the watch itself. I don't have that kind of vision at all. What really interested me was to offer a strap that matches the watch, living up to all the quality, all the creativity, and all the hard work we put into the watch. I don't want to ruin it with a $5 strap you practically find on Temu. I'm exaggerating for a laugh, but there are many watch straps in the watch industry, and even on brands much more expensive than ours, where the strap I know didn't cost more than 10 euros to produce. That's my whole philosophy.
Yeah, I get that.
Really wanted to bring. You see, you've got a suede side on top, so with all the texture, which is pretty cool. And then behind it, it's a cuff. How should I put it? A cuff, a rubberized cuff skin, which allows for not just an extremely soft, very gentle sensation, but also to prevent. In the summer, everyone sweats when it's hot and so on, from coming to damage the nubuck. And so this creates a barrier that helps protect the strap, which then, lasts a lot longer. So you see, these are the kinds of details that I really appreciate. It's not about just aesthetics. It's truly about trying to find a strap that will have the longest possible lifespan, while also offering the greatest comfort and a style and quality that are absolutely top notch.
Yeah, okay, excellent. Adam, another point where I find you, okay, we'll step a bit away from the watch now, but where I find you really strong as well, it's the comms. The comms, I love the comms there, AWAKE, because it's, you really emphasize the closeness. On your site, there's what you call the tribe, I think. I mean, it's a link to a WhatsApp group with, I don't know, maybe 100 or 200 people on it discussing, 400. Yeah, exactly, you see. And we feel it, and we can see you, that you yourself are responding to your fans, to your clients, and there's a closeness. I think that's brilliant. It's true that microbrands allow for that. The proof is that I just asked you on this WhatsApp if we could have a short interview, and you replied directly positively. And I think it's great in terms of communication. It's you go directly to your audience and make them happy.
There are several reasons for that. Firstly, I think that this accessibility that young independent brands, small brands like AWAKE offer, and small is not at all pejorative, by the way. That's also, I think, part of the appeal. And then I'm a watch fanatic, so it's my pleasure to discuss with people who share this passion. There's that point. And then secondly, yes, it's also quite important to realize that the vast majority of our watches, they're actually shipped internationally. And especially in the United States, where almost 8 out of every 10 watches are actually purchased by American clients. And so if you want to know...
Can you give us a quick breakdown right now on the countries?
80% is the US,
Okay, impressive. I never would have thought.
10% for Europe, taken as a whole, then 10% for us, that is to say Asia and the Middle East. So that makes it...
Still not much in France, finally.
Unfortunately, no, because we're also reaching a price point where in France it's a little bit more complicated.
Yeah, I guess that's part of it too. Yeah,
there's a period of reflection among people in France that is much longer than for an American. An American, having heard his dad talk about a brand, he'll arrive, he'll see, he'll love it, he'll buy it, he won't ask any questions. In France, however, we observe periods of consideration that are much longer, and even across Europe, generally speaking. So, if you will, it matures. It takes its time to mature.
Yeah, that's correct.
And then it's like, in France, there's perhaps more of this particular aspect where when you invest 3,000 euros in a watch, well, with a brand that is quite highly regarded.
Maybe you'll seek known brands.
Exactly. There's a desire, a need for reassurance. And actually also with the fear you mentioned earlier, is asking, will it be worth nothing one day? And since there's a lack of knowledge and benchmarks, it makes you wonder, for 3,000 euros, shouldn't I just buy a known brand, like a Longines, or something like that, or even a used one, but from a known brand that will reassure me a bit more? In the United States, the Middle East, in Asia, it's very different. Right. In the United States, we're very often at trade shows, so that also explains this. And to get back to the initial subject, we wanted to keep in touch with all these people who are far from us, actually. And so, you've got this WhatsApp group with 400 people, and that really reflects the structure of our clients, meaning 95% of them aren't French.
Yeah, mostly English speakers, right? Anyway, the WhatsApp.
Mainly English speakers, a huge number of Americans, and that allows us to share a real connection with them. That helps us build a community. In this group, the people, I think they are actually our very best ambassadors. And you just can't ignore them. You can't avoid speaking to them. You can't be inaccessible. This human connection that you create, well, it's truly wonderful. It's good for us and for them. So why not just do it, really?
Yeah, if you want, I'm interested. I relate much more to someone who develops that than someone who's going to sponsor a race car driver.
But that's not at all it's not at all. I mean, really, yes, the whole ambassador, celebrity aspect, etc. That really helps to sell.
I know it sells, but you pay for it too.
To do that in 2026, it's just that it's a selling point. We're not going to have Brad Pitt.
No, it definitely sells, but you also pay for it later in the watch ultimately.
Obviously, you pay for the watch itself. For us, that's precisely what allows us, you talked about the price earlier, to be the most aggressive. We don't have all those marketing expenses. We're a small team. We have very little retail. We only work with the best retail through a boutique. They always stick around for us, but it also enables us to build the brand. We shouldn't forget. That's right. For one, we only work with people we genuinely like.
Yeah,
where there's a human connection. When we meet people, it's not about I can distribute the brand, no problem. Our ambition with our production isn't to have 500 stores, far from it. Ken and I are extremely happy worldwide, so that doesn't mean that
in France you have 2 stores, right?
No, in France. France is a bit privileged because we are in France, and so it's easier to forge connections. But we are present in Marseille at Forjode.
Okay.
We are present in Lyon at Mayer. We are present at La Sossois, and they have 2 boutiques in Paris and the Watch Gallery in the 17th, further north of Paris.
So here we are in Bordeaux at Aurel's.
Okay.
We have, so it's truly the exception. That proves the rule. France is unique because in other countries, we have a point of sale or not.
In France, we actually have 5. But then again, we are a French brand after all.
And you're trying to open some in the United States then?
Well, we're starting with Time Tide, a media outlet that's really taking off with our watches, whether it's in London. They're based in London. Now, we've just launched in the United States because they've just opened the Time Tide studio in New York. And soon we'll be in Australia, as we'll be in all 3 of their studios. We're making great progress with them. The guys are really, the salespeople are exceptional, and they love their brands. So it's a very good partner from a point of view.
I know with the first Wake, you see, I hesitated for a long time to buy it because I hadn't held it and I couldn't really tell from the photos. In the pictures, it looked degraded. I couldn't tell what it would actually look like. And well, I just bought it like that, but I would have liked to try them. I mean, it's nice to see them somewhere too.
It's a bit of our frustration, meaning our dials are so vibrant that if you tilt the dial depending on the light, it'll be completely different. It'll go from dark to incredibly bright, very powerful, and so on. So if you will, that's a bit of our frustration, and no photo can truly do justice to our watches. Where people, and I'm telling you, 99.9% of people, when they arrive and see our watches at shows or in stores, they say, wow, oh, you know, the website doesn't do them justice at all. They're much more beautiful in real life. I prefer it that way than the other, because in my passionate side, I've seen mega retouched photos on Photoshop in ads, etc. You go, wow.
It's pretty intense now. Yeah, it's pretty intense sometimes.
Oh, is it really the exact same thing? And it's quite a bit frustrating.
I'm happy. So we would really like our website to properly reflect the beauty of our watches. We haven't been able to achieve that for the reasons I've already mentioned, but I prefer to how can I say, I prefer to impress rather than disappoint, if you will. So our floor is somehow something good, but it requires people to see them in person. And it's true that at the price point we're currently at, well, you really start to feel it'd be good to see it in person before making a purchase. Americans are quite adventurous about this and have no problem ordering watches they've never actually seen. Typically for French customers, it's a bit more complicated.
Okay, so since we're talking a bit about projects, I find that now you have a universe that is really, really coherent, very homogeneous as well. Since, well, the Silver Leaf collection, I've forgotten the name, but the one you re-released later with the cut stones as well.
The stones, they're fragments of mother of pearl.
Mother of pearl fragments.
Yeah, exactly.
Despite everything, whether it's one of the hour markers or the case, it's still very homogeneous. So you're truly in a world, won't it be complicated to get out of this? Because at some point, you'll also have to, I mean, I imagine you'll have other projects, right? Aren't you afraid the bar is set too high?
So if you want, no, because I have confidence in our ideas, in our ability to evolve the brand, to broaden the brand with, you see, we're working on a sports watch project, which is not at all what our watch is today.
Okay.
But on the other hand, you'll see it. You'll know it's awake. That's important. And it won't be because it has a strange shape that's recognizable because, oh, look, no one had made a shape like that, a rectangular parallelepiped. That's how we'll recognize it. We'll recognize it because it will have that DNA. So we'll be in continuity, even if we're going to open up new complications.
Okay, super.
We're going to launch some new designs with watches in different market segments, because it's true that, well, a sports watch is cool too. And it's not a bad idea, a sports watch, but
so the design will be consistent with what we've done previously.
The techniques are consistent with what we've done in the past. We'll always introduce a few little novelties that really get people excited. But we will that consistency you're talking about, we'll find it in all our upcoming projects. It's essential as a brand not to how should I say, not to confuse people.
Well, the universe is just so well defined, you know, it's quite clear though.
Exactly. We've established our framework. We stick to our framework, but within our framework, we can have plenty of surprises, and that's cool.
So, without telling me too much, I guess, but what complications interest you, for example?
You should know that when it comes to complications, what truly interests me is finding a way to divert them. That is to say, not to display them in the same way as others do, but rather to work with them differently. We'll see. So if I step aside for a moment, it's difficult to. I mean, it's hard to reinvent the small seconds, but there are complications that we'll take as they are, but with which we'll transform so much through our creativity that ultimately, in fact, I'm not into complication for complication's sake. I'm not into complication for its function. I'm all for complications if it brings that creative and poetic touch to the watch. Me, a timer. Setting a timer with 3 counters to measure your eggs cooking, I leave that to others. That's not my field at all. If one day I have to make a timer, I'm not saying I will. If one day I have to make one, it's because I would have found a way to make the timer tell another story that won't be at all about ultra precision, but in a much more poetic approach. You see, one of the brands I find that is extremely skilled at that is Hermes. I'm not talking about Hermes Horloger. I'm talking about HMS, where the impatient hour or suspended time. You see, they managed to bring this poetry to the complication, which is truly brilliant. And the complication isn't there for its function to provide something precise or her whole purpose is to tell a story. The main objective is to tell stories. And if the complication can truly allow us to tell a brand new story that won't exist anywhere else and genuinely makes sense in relation to the overall vision of Wake, well, that's exactly when I'll really start racking my brain.
Oh, yes, that's great.
Because I have capable people on the team. That's why.
Okay, great. Is that coming up soon or is it for much later?
Oh, you'll see.
I knew I was asking for a bit too much there. What am I trying to say? Are you going to Time Fest? Will you be present at Time Fest?
Not this year. Not this year. We weren't able to. The thing is the watch fair as well. It's become. I mean, there are. If you want to make them, you could produce two per week. We'll only be doing one per week, but today it's 2 per week. The main problem you see is that we were already committed to an exhibition when we actually received the dates for Time Fest.
All right.
So we won't be going this year, unfortunately. We'll be spending a lot of time across the Atlantic, you know.
That's exactly
we have some smaller shows this year in the US.
So you can imagine that's already one every 2 months, plus more in Asia and more in the Middle East. I mean, the Middle East is just a few. It's certainly a bit more complicated, but there it is. So we travel a lot.
I can imagine.
We can do them all.
Yes, that's absolutely.
We love the team behind Time Fest. This year, it's not possible. We've done it. We did it last year. We did it the year before. Well, nothing says we won't do it again next year. But for this year, unfortunately, it just wasn't in the cards.
It's a little bit complicated, you know. Okay. Well, listen, I believe I've pretty much covered all the ground I wanted to cover with you in this interview. Listen, I really want to thank you again. It's truly very kind of you to have spoken to us a bit about, your brand and all your exciting projects. And that's it. Super brilliant.
Thanks to you. Thanks to the people who will listen. I talk a lot because I'm so passionate about what I do. So naturally, it makes me a bit long-winded in the way I express myself.
No, that's great.
Well, that's that. So I really want to thank you for the relevance of your questions, and I'm available. It's quite easy to find me on WhatsApp.
Yeah, well, I see that, huh? You came right away, so it's.
If people have any questions that they'd like to ask, then please don't hesitate to contact me and come join the WhatsApp group, okay? It's easily accessible from directly from our website. So there's a dedicated tab to join the tribe, as we call it. And then they join the group. They're going to get things that are ahead of everyone else, because we really like to give out little treats in the WhatsApp group, things that aren't really official yet but will be coming. So basically
little bonus episodes sometimes also that we'll be showing.
We show things you don't see elsewhere, like backstage content, etc. So there's already an interest at that level, and it also allows you to send me a message, or rather to open up a private conversation if there are any specific questions. So with pleasure.
Well, that's really great. Thank you so very much again, Lilian. All right then.
And see you very soon.
Goodbye
Thanks.
to everyone. And now, bye-bye.
Thank you, Lilian. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment now for a little bonus with our new models. Vos nouveaux modèles sont géniaux, les cadrans sont magnifiques et le nouveau logo AWAKE aussi.